Hey Ben, thanks for doing this. So
Hey, Ted.
put a bow tie in this season. How'd this season go for you think?
Well, it's over. Obviously, not the ideal finish that we wanted, and when you don't make playoffs and you're part of an organization that historically has made playoffs, it's a little bit frustrating, and really, it's disappointing personally that it happens under your watch. You don't want that to ever happen, and so in the next couple of weeks, we'll take some time and reflect and see what we need to do to become a better group, a better team, a better staff. We've done some good things this year for sure, but we got to obviously continue to evolve and continue to become better so that this doesn't happen again. So use this as motivation to come back next year, uh, better, stronger, and hungrier.
What caught up to you guys, or what was the ultimately what kept you guys away from the postseason?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into a successful playoff run, into making playoffs. You got to First thing is you got to stay healthy. And when we lost Calvin Pickard, who is, I believe, still top five in the league in minutes played, you lose Ryan Murphy, the reigning AHL Defenseman of the Year. Some guys that call ups, which is consistent throughout the league, so that's not an excuse by any means. But uh, it just didn't happen. So injuries were definitely a big part of it, and I think depth caught up with us a little bit. And credit to the guys that did dig in and were here. I don't want to take anything away from that, but I think our guys exhausted what they had, and it just wasn't good enough.
Steve kind of brought it up yesterday. It may have been more challenging for you guys in the American League with all the COVID restrictions, the travel stuff. Did you kind of feel it was a real challenging year that way?
Well, I think each year poses its own unique challenges, and you've got unique parts of the year where you've got different issues you need to deal with. And this year was no different. Uh, every team was kind of dealing with the same parameters. If anything, it was a little bit back to normalcy. If anything, we weren't. We played 76 games. We weren't traveling the day of to get to games and driving 5 hours to Cleveland and playing a game and coming back. So that was a little bit easier on the body and the minds. But it's tough to pinpoint exactly what went wrong or what. It's just tough. That's why you take some time in the next couple of weeks here, and you reflect and you try and get better. And we need to do a better job of being more consistent and making sure that we are better served next year.
The last one, just the progress of Jonathan Bergeron from day one to the end of the season. What'd you think?
Well, the first day development camp to yesterday when he took off from Sweden, we're proud of his development. I thought that Jonathan came in as a new kid coming into a foreign country for the first time, adjusting to a different culture, a different city, a different coach, a different organization, a lot of firsts. Uh, he had a heck of a year, and he should be proud of that. He worked extremely hard. Now, offensively, he proved that he can do it at this level on a pretty consistent basis. Second half of the year, I thought that he gained a lot more confidence. He was being a lot less perimeter, going to the harder areas on a more consistent basis. And again, the defensive side of things is always going to need a little attention to detail there. But like any young player, you're going to go through that. And he's learning the game, and if he can polish up that side of his game whilst not losing the offensive prowess that he has and the fun that he has with the game, I think that his future is bright.
Okay. Thanks for doing this again, Ben. I appreciate it.
Sure, you're welcome, Ted.
Ben, the challenge of being a minor league coach, obviously there's two jobs you have here. You want to win because that's why you play the games, to win, and obviously the longer you play, the better it is for a player's development. But that's also your second objective, is you're developing players to go play for the Red Wings. How do you weigh those two factors? I mean, obviously you're disappointed not to make the playoffs, but then you talk about a guy like Bergeron, who it looks like you've got ready to play in the NHL.
Well, it depends on. As a coach, you do want to win. As a player, you want to win. I think winning is a skill. I think it's tough to win at any level of hockey, and it takes a lot to be successful. It takes a lot to win consistently. But our first and foremost priority down here is to develop. And, with that being said, I thought some of our players developed very nicely this year. I do think players develop a little bit quicker in a winning environment. And I know that from my experience. I know that from a player. I know that as a coach. Unfortunately, the winning side wasn't as prevalent as we wanted it to be this year. But I thought a lot of guys took some big strides in their personal growth of their game and are better served from October when they came through those doors to April or May, wherever we are here. It's been a blur to leaving for the summer. So a lot of good learning experiences this year for a lot of players, and they just got to make sure that they are learning from those experiences and applying it to what they need to do this summer and moving forward to the next season.
Along those lines, Jared Mckissack, obviously a guy who's basically lost 2 seasons almost to shoulder problems. How important was it for him just to get a full season under his belt? And then what have you seen in his progress from the start of the year to now?
Well, I think it was huge for Jared to get a whole season in. He played, I think he played 70 games this year, as opposed to the 2 prior years where he had less than 10 total. So for him to play a full season under hard circumstances in the American League, he learned to grind it out a little bit. He was playing substantial minutes for our club, power play, PK, end of game situations, games on the line situations. Then Ryan Murphy got injured and he stepped in and took over a lot of the power play time. So he quietly went about his business and he finished 9th in rookie defenseman scoring this year in the American Hockey League. So, people haven't really accentuated that he had a solid year offensively. And I think he learned to defend a heck of a lot better. And again, that's just coming with experiences. He wasn't put in situations the last couple of years because he was injured to have those experiences. And I think that he generally got better as the year went on, and he should be proud of it now. He's got a big summer ahead of him. This is probably the first summer where he, due to 2 big injuries, hasn't been able to really lift or strength train. He's always been rehabbing. So he hasn't really been able to make strides in the weight room. And I think this summer is going to be big for him to be able to actually focus on gaining strength instead of just getting back to being healthy. So I think that's going to be huge for him. I think he's leaving here with a positive attitude and knows what he has to do in order to be more successful next year. But he had a great year. Like I said, quietly went about finishing 9th in the league in rookie defenseman scoring.
And another one of your defensemen, still a very young guy, Donovan Sabrango. How have you seen him develop in what's already his 2nd AHL season? I think he's still only 21.
Yeah, well, Donovan was unique because he played last year in that COVID-shortened season. They made that exception that if you played X amount of games the year prior, you could still play in the American League. So he was still junior age eligible. And Donovan's best characteristic, best qualities are his competitiveness and his work ethic. I think that with those 2 things, he's got a bright future ahead of him, but he has to make sure that this summer is huge for him, strength training. I mean, he's still a young kid. But at the end of the day, we talk about it as a staff. Once the puck is dropped, they don't check birth certificates. So you're competing whether or not you're 19, you're 20, whether you're 30 or 31. You're playing on the same sheet. That's no excuse. Now he's got to realize that he's going to be better served for being in these situations. But we didn't exactly have a ton of depth on the back end this year. So next year we're hopeful that there's going to be a lot more healthy competition to drive the pace up and drive the competition level up, which will inherently make us better as a group.
Thanks a lot, Ben.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, hi, Ben. How about just some thoughts on a couple of guys with good offensive years for you, Barber and Hirose, how they look this season?
Well, I think Riley Barber had another great year. I mean, he led our team, I believe, with 28 goals. He was finished 2nd in the American League with 15 power play goals. He led the American League in that shortened season last year with 8 power play goals. He led our team with 28 goals, a big part of our power play. I think he finished the season on a 17-game point streak. And I can't tell you how many off the top of my head, how many goals he finished with the last 7-8 games. He hit a little bit of a rut there when he was called up to Detroit and hurt his knee, and then that slowed him down a little bit, and then comes back and he's wearing a brace and he's getting his legs back underneath. And I think once he got that confidence that he's healthy, he's not going to re-injure his knee, got called up, for a little bit there and got a little bit of a taste of it. And I think that helped with the confidence. I think that overall, Riley Barber did what he was supposed to do, which is score goals. I believe it was 28 goals is his second highest goal total in his career. So did his job of coming in. Now, defensively, again, no different than a lot of our team. We have to be a little bit more cognizant moving forward next year of making sure that we're defending as well. But I think Riley did a pretty good job of scoring goals for us this year. Taro Hirose, again, he's proven that he can be an elite player at this level. He can produce at this level. Great puck distributor, confident making plays, small, slight build, but he's not afraid to go into hard areas, and he does compete. I think that Taro wants to, and we talk at the end of the year, he wants to be one of those guys that you're talking about in the same breath as guys, all the hype about Podorowski at 100 points this year, Tynan, who was close to 100 points this year. If he's going to be in Grand Rapids or if he's going to be in the American League, he wants to be one of those go-to guys that's significantly producing at those levels, and he's going to challenge himself this summer to come back and do that.
Thanks, Ben.
Sure.
Coach, we've already talked a little bit about Riley Barber, player of the month this past April, and he was just nothing short of incredible down the stretch. Dominic Shine, heart and soul of this team all year long. A lot of the fans, they like to focus on, these young players at this level that hopefully grow into full-time NHLers, but talk about the impact of some of the vets that played crucial roles in this team in the locker room and to really help these young kids grow along with their game.
Well, Andrew, I think you're right. The American League is about development, and I think that those kids that come down here, the kids we talked about, Bergerons, the Mckissacks, the Bartons, these young kids that are coming in and cutting their teeth, to surround them with good people that show you how to do it on an everyday basis. And I think starting with our captain, Brian Lashoff, I think that he epitomizes what it means to be a part of this organization. I think that he's been a huge part of building that culture that has been here for so long. Dominic Shine, another kid that's been here, he came in kind of as an unknown 5 years ago. Would he even make our team? And then he finished the year with 17 goals. So, and again, his goals aren't, they're not one-timers from the half wall, pretty highlight goals. He did have a couple of those, so don't get me wrong, but he relies on his work ethic and his tenacity to have success. So, and Dominic realizes that. So to have a season where he had 17 goals, he was second in the American League with 141 penalty minutes, stands up for his teammates. He shows up every night. I tell people that I will gladly go down a foxhole with him any day of the week. Turner Allison had another career year. To see him have success offensively because he does things the right way every day, I think was huge for some of our guys to see, and to be able to work as hard as he did, to have the success that he did, and to see him get rewarded, even though it was 2 games at the end of the year, but to have that AHL contract ripped up, flipped to an NHL deal, I think just shows other guys in our locker room here that anything's possible. So I think that was refreshing, and I think that a lot of our guys in that room we're extremely happy to see him go up there, and we watched him in Toronto and watched him in Jersey. It was just refreshing. I think that those 3 guys specifically had great years and were a big part of the leadership group in that room.
We've talked a little bit about Jonathan Bergeron already, but, again, a lot of fans over in Detroit are wondering when they're going to be seeing him in a Red Wing sweater. And from what you've seen from him on the ice, especially coming down the stretch here, is he NHL ready? And if not, what do you think he really needs to kind of pinpoint in on this summer to compete for a spot in training camp?
Well, again, Jonathan, his last year in Sweden had a fantastic year. He came over here his rookie year, had a fantastic year over here. It was great to see his maturity. I think just as a kid, as a person, which also then correlated to on the ice, the confidence and maturity from day one into just recently leaving. So I think he's got to apply that maturity and making sure that he's consistent with his game, both with and without the puck. and going to the hard areas. I think he learned a little bit that there's a little bit of give and take where he can kind of get away with being on the perimeter at times, but also knowing when he's got to get his nose a little bit dirty. And when he does, and he's first on the puck, he's not that slight or not that weak. He's got this misconception that he's a smaller guy, but he's pretty rooted in the corners. Once he gets body position on it, he's smart. He's cagey with the puck. He's cagey with his body. But I think that he's got to realize that more consistently and making sure he's applying himself every shift and making sure he's doing that every shift, being hard to play against every shift. And if he does that, I think that there'll probably be more opportunity for him. And then it's up to him to make the most of that opportunity.
And finally, for you, I mean, what happens next year? Have you kind of discussed with Sean Horkoff about the direction of the team and the roster going into next year yet? Or are you going to be kind of taking some time off before we start thinking about next season?
No, you're always thinking about next season. And it's Sean came in with Danny Clear the other day and did exit interviews with the players. We met with the players after as well. And so we'll take probably a couple of days here, digest what these, the feedback that they got, the feedback that we'll get, and then take that feedback and apply it to how we can be better. And we'll digest. And that's kind of what we're doing now, is going through and seeing what we did well, what we didn't do well. How can we be better? What could we have done differently here in this situation or that situation? And then you're looking at your team. What are the expectations of this player? Who are we going to have coming in? Are there draft picks that are coming in? Are there free agents that we want to talk about? And you kind of build your head and your team, and then kind of how you want to play. And that usually gets blown up by about training camp, because it always works out that way. You've got the best laid plans, and nothing ever comes exactly to how you draw it up. So you try and find a way to roll with the punches. And I think that's what we've done pretty well here, is when it didn't go our way, our depth players did step up.
Thanks a lot, Coach. It's been a pleasure this season.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. Not enough, but I appreciate the support.
Hey, Ben, if I could just follow up on that last question, do you have any just general sense of how many of your veterans, might come back next season, or is that just totally up in the air?
Well, every summer there's free agency is a little bit different this year. I believe it's July 13th as opposed to July 1, but we've got one vet under contract in Kyle Criscuolo, who just became a vet. He was a vet exempt this year by playing, I think he played 262 games, hit 262. So 260 would constitute a veteran at the American League level. But we've got decisions to make based on you can only dress in an American League game 5 vet and 1 vet exempt player, or 4 vets, 2 vet exempts, a combination of 6, but no more than 5 vets. So those are conversations that the organization will have to have, making sure that we are getting the right vets here and surrounding our young kids with the best possible people to get the job done here. And we've been blessed with a lot of good vets that have come through these doors here. And I think that's a testament to the accountability that's here and the work ethic that is here.
And coming into this season, Ben, there was a lot of excitement over Pearson, perhaps making that next step. He did get a game at the NHL, but what's your assessment of the season he had this season? Where does he go from here?
I thought Chase had a really good training camp. He came out of the gates pretty strong at a really good training camp. And I think Chase will be the first one to tell you that he was disappointed with his year. His numbers were down. He had a couple injuries that led to a little bit of his demise this year, but we're not giving up on Chase Pearson. He's a 3rd-year pro. He's got qualities that you can't teach. He's 6'2". He's an extremely strong kid, an extremely intelligent kid. We've just got to make sure that he's ready to go for next season and making sure that he wants it. Chase's biggest, I think Chase's biggest thing he needs to focus on is wanting it. And like we talked about in the exit interviews, it won't surprise me if he goes on to have a career, whether it's with Detroit or someone else, and plays another 15 years as an NHL player, because he has a lot of the tools and physical attributes to become an NHL player. But he's got to he's got to hunker down and have the desire to want it. So I think that that's going to be something that he's got to make that decision and put the time in. And he's a classy kid. He works his tail off. He's got great bloodlines. His dad played a long time. It's just a matter of him trying to get it all together and staying healthy. I think staying healthy is a big thing for him.
And then finally, just on Wyatt Newpower, he was a first-year guy. What progress did he make?
Well, Noops, we knew Noops a little bit. Wyatt from played in Cleveland last year in that shortened season. So technically, yes, he's considered a rookie by AHL parameters, but second-year pro. As a coach, and I told Wyatt the same thing, is we didn't know if he was that solid of a defenseman in Cleveland because the AHL was a little bit watered down last year. He's a little bit younger. There wasn't that much depth. And I think that he blew our expectations away this year. I think that he's got a little bit of a throwback mentality. He's a little bit old school to him. Block shots. He's defensively sound. He's got some offense to him. He missed some time, obviously, earlier in the year with the broken hand. But that broken hand he played with for 4 games before he actually had to shut it down. So he's a little bit of an old soul. He plays with his heart on his sleeve. I've got a lot of time for Wyatt. He works extremely hard, and he's a great team guy. So we're looking forward to having him back next year and seeing what steps he can take this summer to become an NHL player. But again, he's a big body that can skate pretty well, gets around pretty well. But he's got a bright future as well. He's got a lot of physical tools that you don't see in today's game, and he's got a little bit of that throwback mentality where coaches really appreciate that, and coaches and players have a lot of respect for that.
Thanks, Ben.
Hey, Ben, a lot of my roster questions were asked, so allow me to pivot in another direction here. How do you handle the emotions of the business when you lose a friend like Jeff Blashill, who loses his job rather, but you understand that this is a business that counts on results,
Well, it's an old saying. Gene Ubriaco said, and he probably took it from somewhere else, a great game, shitty business. And that's just the way it is. So I think that Jeff Blashill is first and foremost. I learned a lot about coaching from Jeff just throughout the years. But what I learned, I think, is way more important is just how he treated people. I think that he's a fantastic human being. I think that he treats people, whether you're the janitor, whether you're the head coach of another NHL team coming in, whether you're the minor league coach, he treats you with the utmost respect, and he makes you feel like you belong. And I can't thank Jeff enough for being so inclusive of me and my staff when I was an assistant in Grand Rapids, our staff when I was a head coach in Grand Rapids. He's had a lot of success at every level that he's been at. I've got a lot of time for Jeff and a lot of appreciation for what he's done for me and my career and my family. And I have no doubt that he's going to land on his feet. Him and Erica and the kids are just fantastic people. So I've talked to him a little bit, but he's going to be just fine.
Gotcha. Actually, now that I do think about it, I do have a roster question for you. You talked a lot about Bergeron and how he's improved this year and, the steps that he wants to take. He says he wants to score more grittier goals. He says he wants to get involved in dirty areas. That was something, say, a Teemu Pulkkinen struggled with a little bit at this level. Is it mastering that physical trait or mastering that mental trait that separates a great AHL player from a potential NHL player?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that there's got to be that want to go into the corner. And do you want to go and get hit or take hits and make a play? Do you want to go and try and take that guy's head? Do you want to go into that corner and come out with the puck? And I think that sometimes that doesn't take a whole lot of talent to do. That just takes the willingness and the want to do it. And I think that if Jonathan finds that extra dimension and the consistency to do that, it's going to open up a lot more eyes and be a lot more beneficial for his long-term growth. But I do think he has it in him. I mean, as the year progressed here, I think that he did a much better job of getting inside the dots, getting towards the net, being first on the puck, taking a hit to make a play, as opposed to where he was the first few games. There were a few games it was just like, oh yeah, here we go again. But he did a fantastic job of learning, and he didn't get it right all the time. But as a coaching staff, I think that I think his personality came out. He grows on. He's a fantastic kid. He made mistakes for sure, and but you could see those mistakes being less and less and less, and he was learning from it, which is that growth is what you like to see. And offensively, again, he had a great year, but I think his play away from the puck is his biggest focus points, and making sure that he's put himself in the situations to. If you're putting yourself in situations to get the puck and want the puck more defensively, to not have to spend as much time in the D zone and the what we call the no fun zone for him, he's going to end up having the puck more, and as a result, be playing more offense, which is what he loves. So, again, the sky's the limit for him, but he's got to make sure that he's doing it on a consistent basis and shows that want and desire to get his nose dirty. He's more than capable of doing it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben.
Sure.
Hey, Ben, I know it's kind of human nature when somebody above you on the food chain gets let go like Jeff did, to maybe be a little nervous. Were you a little nervous about your job situation? And when you heard Steve say what he said yesterday, the vote of confidence, what did that mean to you?
Well, two things. I stay away from media and social media. I don't know the vote of confidence. And Jackie, pro sports is cutthroat at times. You can do an unbelievable job and feel like you've done as best you can, and things can change. And then that's just the reality of the sports world. We show up every day, and we show up to work. We show up to try and get better as a group every day, better as a staff every day. And we try and have a little fun doing it. So, unfortunately, things can change on a dime. Things are out of your control sometimes. So it's good to hear that they are happy with the development that's going on down here, but you can't get complacent. As soon as you get complacent down here, or anywhere for that matter, that's when people pass you by, and you don't want people passing you by.
Ben, will you have any interest in throwing your name into the hat for that Red Wings job?
Well, anytime there's a job opening at the NHL level and you feel like you're ready for it, you're going to show interest in it. And obviously it's in our organization. So I honestly haven't talked to Steve at all about that. Those are conversations that I'll keep private and keep between me and him and go from there.
Thanks, Ben.
Yep.
Hey, Ben, you talked about the goaltending and specifically picked, but did you guys see the development or the progress from Bratstrom at all, or what'd you think there?
I think Victor's first couple of games when he came in here were shaky, to say the least. I think that he knew that. I think that he learned over the course of a season, in practice, in games, in certain situations, to learn how to battle more, to fight through traffic, to have to make that extra effort for that second save, that tertiary save, to really compete on a daily basis. And as he grew, as the games went on, he slowly matured his game and was way more consistent with that. But in saying that, when Picks got hurt and he had to carry the load, he was ready, and he did a really good job. I don't think he's ever played 3 games in 3 nights in 3 different cities, which he did. And a few times he was doing it sick. A lot of people don't know that. So I thought that he learned how to battle a lot harder physically and battle a lot harder mentally as the year went on.
All right, good deal. Appreciate it.